First of all, I'm so happy to see you. And I like to do a little Google situation before we do an interview. And I just saw
Oh
a TED. Oh,
no.
this is good though. And
No,
this
I'm
is
just
good though.
kidding.
This is good. I just saw a TED talk you did not too long ago, and I was riveted by this TED talk. Tell me about this is the one I can't remember Pacific something TED.
Yep,
Tell
it
tell me
was
a little bit
Pacific
about
Group.
that. Yeah, tell me.
You know, um, I have, either through past, illness or just life stuff happening, I've had to keep evolving, and that's great. Necessity is the mother of invention. But you know, I struggle with, oh God, do I have anything to really offer? That's like the old me. That's like, and it's like, I've realized through being very vulnerable with people in the disability community or chronic illness or just showing up as I am, that did, it really helped move the needle for a
Yeah.
lot of people. Everyone wants to kind of feel connected to something, even if it isn't, the most fashionable thing in that moment. And so my friend Richard Green, an old friend, he was part of the Kin group in Santa Monica. It's an amazing think tank space, incredible, and have learned a lot through the people there. But he asked if I would do this TEDx talk, and well, the speech I wrote, it was horrific. And so I just went off. So then, like, the night before, I'm like, I'm just going to write what I feel right now. And, gosh be darned. And I went up there and I was so sick that week, but it's still important to show up unless I'm contagious. I was sick. It was like flop, sweat, everything. But the group was so receptive, and it was so important to me just to get that message out.
Well,
Like, things can seem pretty grim, but you never know when it can change.
well, in
Everything can change.
in 18 minutes, I felt like I knew you in a deeper way, and I've interviewed you and I'd had an opportunity to sit with you. And I think I was just struck really by your strength when I was watching you. And I just got to thinking of you as a little girl. Were you a delicate flower? Were you a strong kid? What were you like then?
I was a strong kid. I mean, I think one winter we went to Puerto Rico on vacation, and I got lost in the marketplace, and an older lady came up to me in this like family lore, and she's like, "Oh, are you lost, little girl?" And I was like, "Shut up and get out of here." And I still run a little hot when I'm nervous, and so I have to be really authentic to counter like. Ugh. But it's funny because I did have MS as a child and I didn't know. And it did cause a lot of pseudobulbar affect, which means I can cry or laugh quite impulsively and maybe inappropriately. I mean, thank God I got into acting where you can really figure out a way to make it work and not, be too scary to people. So I definitely got in the right field. But now, as I've had to shift so many things, I think of little Selma all the time because I think of the little Selmas I wish I could talk to because I didn't know myself and I was very afraid. And with relapsing MS, it wouldn't make sense because I'd get sick or lose my vision, but then it would come back. So it was kind of like, oh, cuckoo Selma.
I think everyone as a little kid is looking for their like their calm space. And I know you know this as a mom and me too. It's like when your kid is spinning out of control and you don't know why, they need someone who's steady. Who was your
Yeah.
steady when you were a kid?
Um, Maybe my sister Lizzie, we were close in age, but it really was my mom. She worked full time and a lot like you when your Bebe was younger. My mom woke up at 3 in the morning, drove 2 hours to work every day, and she was a lawyer and a magistrate in the capital of Lansing. So that was 2 hours away and 2 hours back. But she made sure there was a hot dinner on the table for all of us. We all sat down. And while she might not have been as nurturing or motherly, she was a great force for me to look to, and she did keep stability. She always felt kids should be a little bit afraid of their parent. They feel safer. I didn't do that parenting. I
No,
wish
me
I
either.
did.
Me either. I didn't do that either.
I mean, I let it all hang out, and I'm like, you're good. You're safe, kid.
A lot of kids go through stuff through life, and some parents just imagine, well, oh, that's just a kid going through the terrible twos, or that's a meltdown. I mean, obviously you've looked back and been able to kind of examine it all. But what were some of the big things that happened when you were a little kid that were sort of unexplainable that now make sense?
Oh gosh. Anytime we were going to dinner, it was just, I was exhausted and it was a thing like, oh gosh, now Selma's going to say she can't go. And it is much like chronic illness now. It's like you've reached the end of your limit. But when you're little, and also I had bladder problems. So mom, we'd all four kids would be up, packed in her Corvette, off shopping on a Saturday for a great day. And I was like, oh my God, I have to pee. I have to pee. And Lizzie's like, don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. We'll have to go back. Because, mom had to, just forget it. Everyone's gone. Everything had to be easy on the weekends. So I struggled with a lot of kidney infections and bladder stuff and things because I didn't really believe what I had was real. I really did just believe, oh, my mom would introduce me and she loved me dearly. But she would say, oh, this is Lizzie, the athlete. This is Selma, the depressive. And I just was tired. But we had a good language too. And she had a great sense of humor. But my life now in this third act or whatever act we're in is so vastly different from who I thought I was before.
Well, I love when things become clear because they're explained. You're like, that's why,
Yeah.
that's why. I think the thing that struck me when I read your book, I remembered the drinking at a young age. And I remembered thinking about that, like a third grader, because my daughter is
Yeah.
now in third grade. She's 8. And the idea, when I think about that, the thought of going to get a drink, what were you seeking when you went to get a drink? How did you know about getting a drink?
God, I read a book, and they made it into a movie with Linda Blair, I think. And she was like a kid that drank, and it was really fun for a minute, and then a horrible tragedy happened. And I read that book, and I was like, I can do that. Hopefully without the tragedy, but I can do that because she described how it made her feel better. And I think I was emotionally distraught, not knowing myself. And my mother was incredible mother, and we also had care at the home, but she was very much gone all the time. And I really just thought I was making up these things, that I couldn't see or that my leg was dragging. And I just wanted to feel better. I had pain all the time. And I read in the book that it made all her pain go away. So at 7, at a Passover Seder, I had my first dead drunk.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, that was terrifying. And how do I get that again?
Oh.
So I really have to watch my kid, and that became my anesthesia whenever I needed it. I wasn't always an everyday drinker. I never drank on set. I was a very functional, but in my own personal life, it really thwarted me and really created problems. And I didn't know I had pseudobulbar affect, which is also happens a lot of times with closed head injuries or Parkinson's or MS. And there's something I can take for it, and it's vastly improved. But that I thought was my personality my entire life, this sobbing. And I didn't know that it was an injury. So that was like my greatest discovery with MS.
Wow. When you were a kid and laying in your bed by yourself, what were you saying to yourself? Who were you talking to? How were you trying to make sense of it as a little girl?
I talked to God. I talked to God and I prayed every night. And then one day I realized things were going really badly for me. And I was like, oh, who am I to take up God's time? Oh
geez.
no. And then I thought it's because I prayed too much and God had fires to worry about and babies that were dying. And so I had a real sense of shame just even asking for anything or being seen and that I didn't deserve. So it's been a whole life of kind of building that up and the things that I learned and the stories I told myself. But I escaped in books. Books were my happiness. Like when I was little, anyone say, what, if you had to rob any store, what would it be? I'm like, a bookstore.
Oh my God. What was
Like,
your book? What was your book when you were a kid?
God, Till We Have Faces by C.S. Lewis, which really was meant for a much older girl, but it was someone that suffered. I loved Sylvia Plath in my 7th grade years. I would go towards the drama. I loved anything John Irving because that was still kind of magical. And I loved anything, Roald Dahl.
Yeah, of course.
May
Yeah.
Sarton, once I became a solitude when I was like 13, and that was easier for me, not realizing that maybe the MS or maybe other things had caused me to have a lot of trouble being with people without sobbing. So I did become a solitude, and my mother did give me a lot of books to help me along that way and still feel fulfilled as I retreated a bit.
I can't imagine. I was thinking about your mom just now. And if I had, like any mother, if we had missed something in our kid, if we thought they were being dramatic, if we thought this, did she, when she learned ultimately what was happening with you, what conversation did you guys have about it? Or did you?
It was small. I was going into treatment to have a really, aggressive treatment. And I told her, I have MS, and I think this is a lot of the reasons when I was younger. And sorry I put you through this, and sorry this was hard. And oh, she said, oh, that's great. You have MS now. Wow, they have tons of medicine for that. And I kind of felt like that, but my flare had been going on so long since the birth of my son. I didn't know that it could remit when you're pregnant. So I felt amazing. I was like, someone else's hormones in me have changed me. I no longer cry. I have energy. So I was always tired. But then when I had my son, the SHIT hit the fan and my skin literally fell apart. Like it started melting off me. Autoimmune stuff I didn't understand was just triggered. And so that was also, but those things, that necessity made me then seek out skincare lines. And then that could also help heal me once that my body wasn't dealing with one thing. So
I want to talk about a lot of other things, but I think that that is an important part of it, because how our skin feels matters. It doesn't matter what you're going through in life, what happens matters. So tell me about this line, how it changed you and what made you decide to, be a part of it.
ESK, it's this premium Australian line, and I didn't know anything about it except when a facialist gave it to me, all the other products that I had been trying were breaking down the barrier of my skin, and I didn't know, maybe I'm putting too much on. And at the time, the MS was very active, and I didn't know I had MS yet. So I didn't know I had thyroid eye disease. Like everything just, was like, we're going to throw everything at you. So the skin was the least of my concerns almost, but it's like, oh, no way can I work. Like they were open sores. It was very, very dramatic. And so I went to another place to get a facial, and she said, I really don't want to put any of this stuff on you. It's too active. It's amazing products. But I have this in my bag. I was just in this place, and there's this calming cleanse. It really helped me. And so it was just a kindness of stranger who literally gave me something out of her makeup bag. And I used it, and within a week, my skin started to not burn as much. And so I found a couple other things, but was still nervous. Didn't know if I could actually take care of my skin and nourish it or just calm it. It wasn't just like some random celebrity thing. It really was so true to me that this skincare also was starting to change. I mean, I had huge pores from scarring from these boils, and it's really dramatic. But I know that anyone, when your skin falls apart and you're desperate to get it back, it just seems like, oh, this will never happen.
So who's it for? Like if Mary Smith took it?
It's evidence-based skincare, yes. Mary Smith, there's plenty in the line. They had a Uber A that then now turning into one of my own design, one of our own with Dr. Ginny, that is like a retinol. So I couldn't use retinol. My skin would just burn too much. So it's a retinol, which is this great alternative, but it also, so it has all the cell renewal, but it also is nourishing and helps with fine lines and pigmentation. It's like all their favorite products instead of packing them all in my go-to bag, because I'm always traveling now. It's like, God, can it be just in one and I can put it on at night? Because less is more.
I love it.
Unless it's money, then more is more. It helps with fading pigmentation, and it builds upon, your collagen.
You look sparkly, by the way. I thought that when you first popped on, I was like, I'll have what she's having.
Thank you. It's made such a difference.
So when you were going through, let's go back again. So you go to college, you go to NYU and the University of Michigan, you want to be an actress, and you land some big roles. So your mom's a judge and a lawyer. And what did your dad do?
My dad was an attorney.
An attorney.
And my older sister's an attorney. And then my other sister is a police officer. And then my other sister is a book publicist in New York. And so I think I went out to New York. I didn't know if I'd do photography or writing or acting. And acting was the only thing I was qualified for. Turns out I was, I could be a housekeeper. I clean really well, or I decided, let's give this a try. And it was actually, I studied at a place called the Column Theater and Studio. And right when I was about to give up, I moved. My mom helped me pack my bag, and I lived at the Salvation Army, which was the Parkside Evangeline Women's Residence, which is now like a very shishi place. But it was nice because it was $150 a week. It was all women. It was like an old Barbizon school, kind of.
Wow.
And you could get breakfast and a key to Gramercy Park.
Wow. Okay, so you were living there and then auditioning?
So I was living there, and I was also working at the Gap full time. I needed my clothes. I liked folding. It was very calming. And so I went into this class and it was like a studio thing. So people would come in and agents would come in and give you feedback. And this agent came in and she was like, worst headshot I've ever seen. What are you, 1975? I was like, yeah, I know. And she's like, and that scene you did, you're like, what accent is that? And what? And that was just an example of everything not to do that was damn comedic. And then she called me in and then she signed me and we've been dear, dear friends ever since.
Gosh.
She's a child agent, Jana Kogan Barth. I mean, I love her.
Wow.
Forever. And her daughter. So she's family to me. But she said, you know, after a few parts, she said, go west, young woman.
Wow.
And
Were
so
you
I did.
prepared for what was going to happen with Cruel Intentions and Legally Blonde and how you
I'm
kind of...
still waiting
I
to
know.
hit.
It's
What are you talking about?
crazy.
I'm still waiting to hit. It's like, no, it was the biggest thrill because you know, idolized those girls. And even though I was older than them, I was playing such the ingenue that it was very real. You know, I was such a goof and excited. And I got along so well with Roger Cumble and the director. So it was amazing to be a part of those because I could play a child who didn't necessarily have a ton of acting experience. So the people I was kind of competing against were also newbies. You know, we weren't all Juilliard grads because we're playing kids, even though I was long in the tooth at the age of 23.
So during that time, you had MS, didn't know it. How was it revealing itself to you?
It would reveal itself with a lot of this crying that really was hard to deal with because, you know, God, it was hard. I would laugh and cry. My leg would go out a lot. So I was very intimidated to ever use a cane then. And I'm also like, I don't need a cane. Why do I feel I need a cane, you liar? Like, I just wasn't dealing with these things with myself, but my balance was very off. And I remember even like Reese on my birthday being like, woo, how much have you had to drink? I'm like, oh my God, I've been sober for 2 years. What do you mean? Like falling off my shoes and stuff. And I always was a gymnast as a kid. So it just never occurred to me I would ever have a neurological issue, but it would show up more. And then towards the end, when I was doing Hellboy 2, I was kind of diagnosed with leukemia there incorrectly, but just because my autoimmune went so haywire. So just as I got tired, things would show up, or I'd slur my voice, or I'd get tics. I thought, this is weird. But
Wait, they diagnosed you with leukemia?
Because I do have some blood differences, but it's totally fine.
Okay.
So they weren't understanding why my lymph nodes were so big and this fever and this, so then maybe cat scratch fever. Or they didn't, it was really strange. I was just sick, one of those things. Then I thought, oh, that must have been Lyme, you know, but it wasn't. I never had Lyme.
Yeah.
But it was just chasing, and I thought, there's no way I'll ever find what's wrong with me. And then whenever it get really bad and I'd get confused, you know, then I'd probably drink again and, you know, hide in my house. And I wasn't a party girl drinker. It was really strictly like, I want to feel better.
I want to feel better, to numb. So this goes on. You have a knowing that there's something up, man, because you've known it your whole life somewhere.
Yeah.
And when does the actual diagnosis ultimately come?
After I had my son in 2011, the fatigue never let up. I don't think the flare ever went away. The leg never stopped being numb. But really horribly, once I got like sober for good, and it still felt worse, and I still was like, this is weird. People are asking why I'm slurring or why is my speech. But I still didn't think neurological. But finally, I had to go back to work. I wanted to. I had gone through my money being disabled. And so I finally said, I gotta get an MRI because I have a pinched nerve. I can't move. I can't stay awake. I must have a pinched nerve. And when I did, went to 2 doctors that day, they said, no, it's just older neck, maybe in your head. And I just started to cry. And I fell asleep in the office, which was something I did often. I slept all day. And he said to my boyfriend at the time, she's sleeping. And he said, yes, she does it all the time. She thought maybe it was antidepressants they put her on and got her sleepy, but it didn't help. And so right then, he stood me up, Dr. Jason, and he said, shut your eyes, you know, woke me up, shut your eyes, put your hands out. And he stood behind me to catch me, and I planked. I had no idea, and I still do to this day. If my eyes are like shut, I don't know where I am in space. So there's a rhomboid test, and he gave me my first MRI of my brain in my whole life, even though I've asked for it my whole life. So I do tell people an MRI is important. I had actually told Christina Applegate to get an MRI when I saw symptoms. And And that changed my life. So I'm a real proponent of MRIs.
When you finally heard the words, which it must have given you this, someone once said, once you hear the truth, if it's painful or not, your body relaxes. It's like you finally know. It's like an exhale. What did it feel like when you sobbed?
I sobbed with an exhale, but I still didn't piece that's what was going on my whole life. I literally thought this is something that hit after my son was born. But then I went back in my memory and I was like, oh no, look at your journal, kid. Everything's like, I can't stay awake. I can't run. Once I start to run, I trip. Like even in high school, you know, like it was always there. But it got so bad after my son was born. That's when my life got really hard. But when I was diagnosed, it took me all the way till 2018 to get diagnosed, to get an MRI, even though every day it seems I was going to a different specialist to say, how do I get energy? Like this can't be right.
Can't
like
be right.
I just don't want to live. And I was like, I'm not trying to get Adderall. Like I'm not trying to lose weight because everything's, but I'm like, will it help? What do? I gotta work.
So once you had the diagnosis, you knew something, but what were your marching orders? What were you supposed to do?
My marching orders were, he said, you have to check into the hospital right now. You need to be treated clinically. You've had this for at least 25 years. We can't tell. You know, some just won't show up yet. And I was like, weird. Okay, but it's incurable, right? And he said, well, yeah. And I said, well, then it's not going to matter because I have to get on, like the show must go on. I have a movie that I have a part in tomorrow that I have to go. I'll be gone for 3 weeks. Can I do it then? He's like, I don't think you understand. Like your brain is on fire. But, and he said, no matter what you do, don't do like basic prednisone. You got to do a clinical dose. And I was like, oh no, I did today. Because my neck hurt so bad and I thought to get on the plane. And just coincidence or whatever, I just unraveled. And then I started with the dystonia and everything started happening. But I'm so much better now. And it was funny. I mean, I gave it a try for everything. And at the time, none of those meds worked for me, but I gave it such a college try and even aggressive treatment. But thank God I did find the right doctor for me after I had a relapse, after really aggressive treatment, that I just kind of kept quiet, but did find the right doctor and found the right treatment. And so don't give up, you know, like that held me and slowed my progression correctly until I could find the right one. And now I have an incredible relationship with my Dr. Regina. And I just feel so, it's just amazing how much you learn all the time. It's not linear.
How did your MS affect your son?
You know, it was really a blessing in a way because while I couldn't work as much as I wanted, the few projects I could fit in there, he could come with me. He was young enough. But I was home with him every day. Like, it was a gift. Even though I was sick and I was wondering, like, oh, you feel really rocky, knowing that I was still the one with my son and every day, and that he slept with me and he nursed way too long, but it was okay. I'm not that kind of mama. That was annoying, but I love him. I'm not a good cook, so I wanted him to have, you know, something before the cupboards were bare. So we just probably got me sicker, but he got healthier, and that also got me healthier to see how wonderful my kid is. And he really is cool. And now I'm just having a little balance issue lately because the heat or whatever. He holds my hand. He makes sure I have my water. Just simple things that really move the needle.
I was talking to Meredith Vieira a while ago, and she said her husband had MS, and she said, my husband's MS made my kids better humans. She said when somebody drops something at another table, her kids hop up to help.
Yeah.
Because they know that they're helpers and that's part of what they do. You mentioned that Christina Applegate, you noticed something in her. I heard you say that. I was like, wait, what? So what happened? You saw Christina and something was off?
Our children, you know, we did Sweetest Thing together and had a friendship, and she's incredible, fun girl and lives by me. But our children went to preschool together. So we were, you know, in each other's lives again. And I had it really fearsomely and didn't know. I just thought, oh, I'm a basket case. Like, I can't have a kid. This is really hard. But she seemed to be doing pretty well, and I'd lean on her for stuff because her daughter's a little older. But there did come a point where after I was diagnosed and she came over because I wasn't leaving the house so much, and I was like, ooh, why are you leaving the house? I'm like, you don't look so good, because she was in pain. You know, she had this neuropathy, and I was like, I had that. And I saw her fatigue, and I thought, could it be? There's no way.
Yeah.
But I am very similar to Christina in certain ways. And I think our nervous systems, like I could just see, And she's like, don't give me that. Don't put your stuff on me. But she really did feel horrible. I was like, well, just give it a try, because I searched my whole life and you're searching here for a while. Just give it a try. Just ask your doctor. Maybe you should get an MRI. And she did. And then the rest is her story. But it was shocking how many of us, I have a lot of friends that have MS now.
Why do you think that is?
And a lot of friends that weren't comfortable coming out till this loudmouth was like, I don't know what to do, but I'm kind of tipping around. And some people are like, geez, so extreme. Selma's so dramatic. Mine was a movement disorder that got way better. And now it's hard. I was gone so long and I'm working harder than I ever have. And I'm like, great things are happening. And I'm like, wait, no, I'm doing better. I'm doing better. Because I think there is a lot of fear. Like, ooh.
When you came out, like you said, publicly talked about it, what did you notice about friends, relationships, work, all the things? What changed?
I have to say in the beginning, people were amazing, because I had isolated so long after my son, because I just didn't have energy unless there was another mom that was going to come over. But I really was hanging on by a thread. Mm-hmm. And so people really stood up, because people actually are, when asked or when they hear, people can be quite heroic and loving, even the ones that don't necessarily like you that much. People really rallied and they sent food. I mean, I don't think I had to make food in 2 years, and thank God, because I didn't have any more breast milk to feed my son. Those days were gone. So thank God for the kindness of my Hollywood friends that really stood up. But you find, like anything, and I can't sugarcoat it. Once you're still down for a while, it does get boring. The novelty wears off. People can't feed you forever. But having the push of support in the beginning really meant so much. And I saw the best in people.
Yeah.
But yeah, then your life goes on and it's mundane, and some days are better than others. But I am very lucky that I'm relapse free. I have small amounts of residual stuff, dystonia and things, but I'm really doing great.
Tell me about why you think that is. Is it medical? Are you doing other things? What's happening here?
I have to say, I made a real choice to change my attitude. I think I'd been so afraid in life and so angry at being tired that I had kind of a piss poor attitude. Like, I'm a joyful person, but I had some things about me that were more angry than I understood. And when I made a commitment for my son, for myself, to try and have a much better third or second part of my life than the first, and made the documentary and kind of just documented all the great things in my life, that I have this son and that there is medical care, and it might be hard, like all of us. No, it wasn't free for me either. No, it didn't matter. Yes, I lose my insurance. I'm a regular person too, but my attitude changed into something really positive and playful. And I thank God for that every day, because without that attitude, who knows what things I'd lean back on, and that wouldn't get me feeling better. I think finding a doctor this time around that really listened, because doctors don't have a lot of time, and you get your 15 minutes, and I'm jerking around and I'm this, and I'm like, why is this happening? And they're like, I don't know, happens to some people with MS. And I'm like, well, do I take something? And, it's very quick. And you're like, wait, do I need that? Do I not? But no, it really helped to have a woman that understood I wanted to be there for my kid, that I wanted to look better, that I wanted to be able to calm myself. So yeah, she made sure I ate in the morning, get a protein in me, no matter what, a glass of water, and I need to exercise. And I'm not as good anymore as exercise. I don't have balance the way I used to. But I know when I don't exercise, that's when I start crying and I'm in bed. It's real. You got to do it.
I think you make a great point about kind of how the country deals with chronic illness. I think we're good with acute illnesses. It's like cancer, get it out. Your arm's broken, put a cast on it. When there's something that's over a lifetime, all the things you're describing about what you eat, how you move, what you put in your brain, how you spend each day is super important. On your terrible days, where do you turn? Like, what do you do?
On my terrible days, where sometimes it can just be emotional too, like, because I couldn't jump on, or the sun, I have to stay away from the sun. I'm very sun insensitive. It's an autoimmune enhancer. So, there's a lot of things that can bring out, a real wonkiness. And I have to retreat to bed, unless, of course, I'm at a work event. And no matter what, I will suck it up at a work event. It might not be as good It might not be as great, but I will be there sweating and all. I will do it unless I have a tourniquet on my leg, which isn't happening, So I will do it, but then I will break. And I do need to get in bed. Like someone who came up with the spoon theory, when you're done with your spoons, you got to replenish your spoons. Someone might have 20 spoons a day. I might only have 6. So I do have to do time management better. And be kind to myself when it feels hard. But I'm also pushing myself now, but I now also have a medical team that's not just looking out for my MS symptoms, is now, hormone replacement and all the things that I'm now paying attention to, taking care of my skin, moving the needle, feeling better, all of that I didn't have time to before.
Well, you changed the conversation around MS. I know that so many people advised you to keep it secret. I had a conversation with Jamie-Lynn Sigler, and she was like, I kept it secret for years. I'm sure because of how people look at you. Oh my God.
And then I ran into Jamie-Lynn and I'm like, you're the most gorgeous girl in the world. Don't keep anything secret. Wait in your time for sure. And it was Jamie-Lynn Sigler that just taught me to have some patience, because I'd stand up and I'd try to get point A to point B like I used to, and I'd look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, like I couldn't figure it out. But then after we had coffee one day, I just see her like gently, like just feeling her feet, moving slowly. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, taking my time. I'm like, oh my God, I too don't have to lurch across the room. A lot of it was my own impatience.
Right.
And there are little tricks. And it's people like Jamie-Lynn who had it, who have so much grace and caring for everyone, that I love. It makes me feel warm. It makes me feel warm that Christina tells her truth, that she speaks my truth on the days I don't want to, because I'm busy trying to be positive.
You know what? Jamie-Lynn, I did an interview with both of them a while ago, and Jamie-Lynn said something I didn't forget. She said, I asked her if she does other things other than medical things to feel better. And she says, yeah. She goes, I meditate. And I said, oh, tell me about that. And she goes, well, it's so funny. She said, my son just came up to me the other day and said, Mommy, what do you think about when you meditate? And she says, honey, I'm not supposed to think about anything. But actually, I do think about something. What is it? She goes, I'm actually running on the beach with you guys, like running and laughing. Her son said, does that make you feel better or worse? And she said, it makes me feel better. And he said, why? He said, why? And she said, because in my body, I feel all the things that one would feel when they run. Like I have the emotions of it. And she said, it may not change me, but it changes my brain and how I process things. Do you do other things like that? Meditate, whatever?
I do. Yeah. I do transcendental meditation. I've been doing that since I was diagnosed. The day I was diagnosed, like 2 days later, I was like, get over here. I need a trainer. And it really did give me a protected space to just be, without thinking of anything, and to chant my tone. It makes such a difference. I need to do that twice a day. I really notice a difference if I don't. But it's the horseback riding means everything to me. It's hard. I have to wear an ice vest because the heat, and I don't jump or ride the way I used to, but I still, like Jamie-Lynn says, running on the beach. I'm still running on the beach on my horse. And there is something about sitting down that way that helps my speech and stuff. There's certain ways I can sit, so that's one of them that calms my nervous system.
Wow. I have to tell you.
So I won't give up.
Of course you won't. You're changing the whole game. You're doing
I want to do a horse show next year.
Oh, you do?
I do. That's what my goal is. So
I love that. I love that idea. So we call this show Making Space because it's about people who make time for themselves. So on a day when you don't really have any obligations, no podcasts, nothing, your son says, I'm good, Mom. If you have a full day that's for you, and you could spend it any way you choose, what would you do with a day like that?
I'd go to the beach in the shade with a new book, and I'd read it from start to finish with a great cooler of some bubbly water and fruit. And that's it. Like, just to read an entire book by the beach one day, that's incredible. Also, I like to just jump in my pool, and I'll just stay there and do like flips and flips and flips like a little kid.
Wow.
And then my son will jump in with me if he sees me have a good time, and then I think my world is perfect.
Wow. Sounds pretty perfect to me. Well, I want to say, Selma, I adore you. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. All right.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC, or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.